millions of online purchases. But now, the company is on the ground, fighting to survive. What went wrong with a brand that seemed to be winning on every front? How can a success formula, built on convenience and trust, turn against itself so quickly? And more importantly, what does this say about the world in which we buy? In the early 2000s, Sebastian Siemiatkowski was working the phones in debt collection, calling people who couldn't or wouldn't pay. Day after day, he heard the same frustration from shop owners. We're going to stop selling on invoices. Too many customers just never pay. For most, that was the end of the conversation. For Sebastian, it was the start of an idea. What if someone else took the risk? What if the merchant got their money instantly and the debt collector handled the rest? Banks weren't interested, so Sebastian walked away from his job, brought in 2 classmates, and started building. They were broke. Then a Swedish angel investor stepped in with 60,000 euros, a development team, and a huge slice of equity. It felt like selling half the future before it even existed, but they took the deal. Money poured in. Within years, Klarna was a billion-dollar unicorn, backed by top investors and used by millions. From the outside, it looked like the perfect success story. But hidden inside was a system that didn't just process payments, it rewired how people spend and how easily they slide into debt. And it all came down to one little button at checkout. Picture this. You're a small shop owner. You sell a $200 leather jacket. A customer loves it, but when they check their wallet, not enough cash, and they're already close to maxing out their credit card. Normally, you'd lose that sale. But then comes the magic button, Pay with Klarna. Here's how it works. Klarna steps in and says to you, the merchant, we'll pay you now, full amount, no waiting. In exchange, you hand them a small cut of the sale, usually somewhere between 3% and 6% commission. That's their fee for making the deal happen. No risk of chasing down payments, no awkward phone calls, no unpaid invoices rotting on your books. For the customer, Klarna offers options, lots of them. They can pay in 30 days, spread it out over 4 equal installments, or even stretch it out for as long as 36 months. And the most popular by far? The 4-payment plan. It feels painless. Buy today, pay just 25% now, and the rest over the next 6 weeks. And here's the kicker. They market it as no interest. On the surface, it's almost like borrowing money for free. Klarna pays the merchant up front, and then they take over dealing with the customer. If the customer pays on time, great. Klarna pockets their commission and moves on. If they're late, well, that's when late fees and interest options come into play. It's debt collection, dressed up as a shopping perk. This model isn't unique to Klarna. It's part of the booming buy now, pay later, or BNPL industry. Over just 2 years, from 2019 to 2020, the number of BNPL loans in the US from 5 major lenders exploded by 970%, skyrocketing from 16.8 million to 180 million. The total dollar value went from $2 billion to $24.2 billion in that same TA. That's not growth, that's detonation. Why did it take off so fast? 2 reasons. First, it feels better than using a credit card. Psychologically, splitting a $200 purchase into 4 $50 chunks seems much more manageable, even if you still owe the same amount. Second, it's frictionless. Signing up takes seconds. No complex credit checks, no scary forms, just your name, address, and a few personal details. In fact, many customers don't even think of it as debt at all. For merchants, Klarna's pitch is irresistible. The company claims their service boosts average order value by up to 45%. Someone who might have walked away from your $200 jacket suddenly decides to throw in a $50 scarf too. After all, it's only $12.50 more per payment, and because Klarna pays you right away, you don't care how or when the customer pays them. It's off your plate. From Klarna's side, the math is straightforward. Let's say you sell that $200 jacket. Klarna pays you $194 after taking their 3% cut immediately. They then collect 4 $50 payments from the customer over 6 weeks. If the customer's on time, Klarna makes their profit from the commission. If they're late, they tack on a $7 late fee for each missed payment, small enough to seem harmless, but multiply that across millions of users, and it's a significant revenue stream. And if a customer wants a longer-term financing plan, that's when interest kicks in, sometimes as high as 35.9% APR. The genius, or danger, depending on how you see it, is that Klarna has turned what used to be debt for big, necessary purchases, like a car or a home, into debt for everything: shoes, skincare products, headphones, even a Costco hot dog. Yes, people have literally used BNPL for food. This frictionless model made Klarna a fixture in online shopping. By 2025, they had partnered with over 724,000 merchants and claimed more than 100 million active users worldwide. The brand became synonymous with smooth shopping, even though behind the scenes, it was a finely tuned debt machine. But there's an unspoken rule in finance: the easier it is to borrow, the easier it is to fall behind. And while merchants were celebrating bigger sales and customers were enjoying free payments, Klarna was quietly setting up a system where missing just one due date could start a chain reaction of fees and stacked debts. On paper, the business model is simple. In reality, it's a delicate balancing act, one that only works if enough customers pay on time to cover those who don't. And as Klarna was about to discover, that balance can tip fast. And when it does, the very thing that made Klarna explode in popularity becomes the same thing pulling its customers, and eventually the company itself, into a spiral that's almost impossible to escape. On the surface, Klarna's model feels like a win for everyone. Merchants get paid instantly, customers get what they want now, and they can spread the payments out. No interest, no credit card stress, just smooth shopping. It's shopping without guilt. At least that's the story. But here's the reality. Buy now, pay later sounds convenient and fun, yet I'd actually call Klarna everyday debt. Instead of borrowing for big, necessary purchases, a car, a house, people are now taking on debt for sneakers, lipstick, even that infamous Costco hot dog. The amounts are smaller, but the trap works the same. The people most likely to fall into this pattern aren't financial experts with bulletproof budgets. They're often the most vulnerable, already juggling credit card balances, living paycheck to paycheck, and with little financial literacy to guide them. And Klarna's door is wide open to them, by design. Signing up takes almost no effort. The list of information required is short. As one consumer finance report put it, name, address, phone number, email, date of birth. In some cases, the last 4 digits of your social security number. That's it. No hard credit check, nothing that would warn other lenders. From a customer's point of view, it feels harmless. No ding on your credit score, no red flags. But the ease of entry is exactly why people borrow more than they should. The trouble begins once you're inside the system. Payment schedules are tied to the day you bought the item, not a unified bill day like with credit cards. Buy 3 things over 3 days, and now you've got 3 separate payment schedules to keep track of. That doesn't sound like much, but stack it across multiple purchases, and it adds up fast. And then there's stacking. Consumerfinance.gov defines it as taking out multiple BNPL loans from different lenders at the same time. Klarna doesn't check whether you have open loans with Afterpay, Affirm, or anyone else. And neither do they. Each individual loan might be manageable, but combined, you've just built yourself a debt schedule so complex, you'd need a spreadsheet to survive it. The industry loves this lack of visibility because it creates repeat customers. Repeat in the sense that they keep coming back for more loans, not that they pay everything off. Klarna even boasts that long-term customers use the service up to 18 times a year. That's 18 separate payment schedules. One slip and the dominoes start falling. For those who can't keep up, the safety net isn't there. Klarna's interest-free plans are just one part of their offering. The other is financing that can reach up to 35.9% APR. That's higher than most credit cards. So if you roll your balance over, thinking it's just a bit of interest, you've actually stepped into a far more expensive loan than you might have imagined. The numbers tell the story. In a recent study, 41% of BNPL customers admitted to being late on a payment, up from the year before. And remember, that's self-reported. Many of those people weren't just late once, they were late repeatedly. Once you're paying $7 here, $7 there, plus interest on longer loans, the fees start to eclipse the price of the original item. From Klarna's perspective, this isn't a bug. It's part of the business model. The company earns a significant chunk of revenue from these late fees and high-interest plans, and they do it all while keeping the process wrapped in friendly branding, pastel colors, and phrases like "pay later your way." It's a clever illusion. The easier it feels to buy, the harder it is to see the cost. And the more you try to dig yourself out, the deeper you get. But as Klarna was about to find out, this wasn't just a trap for customers. It was a trap they were quietly setting for themselves. One that would soon show up in their balance sheets, their investor calls, and even their plans for the future. The irony is hard to miss. For years, Klarna's business thrived on the idea that customers would slip, that a missed payment here, a late fee there, and a handful of high-interest loans would turn small purchases into steady streams of revenue. But while customers were drowning in microdebt, Klarna was quietly stepping into a much bigger trap of its own. On the surface, the numbers look impressive. In Q1 2025, Klarna reported $700 million in revenue. Their EB, adjusted operating profit, even showed a $3 million gain. And CEO Sebastian Siemiatkowski was bullish. The momentum is undeniable. We're outpacing competitors, our merchant network is scaling rapidly, and our next-gen products are reshaping money management for millions. But dig a little deeper, and the shine wears off fast. That same quarter, Klarna posted a net loss of $99 million. How does a company make more money than last year? $80 million more, and yet almost double its losses? The answer sits at the heart of their model: customer defaults. Credit losses jumped 17%, hitting $136 million. Every time a customer skipped out on payments, Klarna was left holding the bag, a bag they'd already paid for with borrowed money, and that borrowed money isn't free. Debt financing expenses climbed to $130 million in just one quarter, up 15% from the year before. That's not Klarna's total debt, that's just the cost of their debt. When your revenue engine depends on customers paying up, and they don't, you're essentially paying interest on money you can't collect. It's a strange mirror image. Klarna builds a system where people buy now and pay later, but to make that possible, Klarna itself borrows now and is increasingly struggling to pay later. Some of the company's moves to cut costs only added to the oddness. In 2024, Sebastian declared,
AI can already do all of the jobs that we as humans do. It's just a question of how we apply it and use it.
But by 2025, Klarna quietly reversed course and started hiring again, suggesting the AI revolution hadn't delivered the magic efficiency boost they'd hoped for. Then there was the IPO, the supposed big payday. Going public would have meant a massive influx of capital, giving Klarna room to refinance debt and reassure investors. The IPO was slated for early 2025, and then postponed. Officially, the reason was tariffs, but I'm not entirely convinced that's the whole story. When you file for an IPO, every financial detail is laid bare. If there were cracks in Klarna's books, delaying could be less about tariffs and more about buying time. Of course, that's speculation. But in the timing, the silence, and the nervous shifting of launch dates, you can almost hear the alarm bells. The bigger picture is sobering. Klarna's rise was built on making it easier for people to buy things they couldn't really afford. That same easy credit philosophy also fueled their own expansion. But with customers falling behind, the machine now strains under its own weight. The lesson is simple, even if it's rarely followed in business. If you make your living on borrowed money, eventually, the bill comes due. Klarna once sold itself as the smooth alternative to credit cards. Today, it faces the same brutal truth as the people it lends to. Debt, no matter how it's dressed up, is still debt. And Klarna's not the only one learning that lesson the hard way. Klarna was supposed to be the smooth, modern alternative to credit cards, a friendly way to get what you want now and worry about the bill later. And for a while, it worked. Merchants saw bigger sales, customers felt in control. But the truth hiding behind the pastel branding is simple. Buy now, pay later is still debt. And debt, no matter how it's packaged, has a way of catching up with you, and with the companies that hand it out. If you really want financial freedom, the easiest rule is the oldest one. Pay for what you buy, in full, right now. No hidden interest, no late fees, no reminders from a company that made pastel pink the color of debt collection. So next time you're tempted by that Pay in 4 button for a pair of shoes, a phone case, or yes, even a Costco hot dog, maybe just wait until you can afford it outright. You'll save yourself money, and you won't be funding a business model that's learning the hard way what happens when the bill comes due. And speaking of companies driven into trouble by their own decisions, Klarna's not alone. Another iconic brand made a $62 billion mistake that pushed it to the edge, and it's got everything to do with Jeep. Click here to see how it happened and why the fallout is still shaking the company today.